I don't know who's here yet. We're still getting all set up, but just want to welcome everybody to the stream. This is going to be a really informal stream. We're going to have a discussion. I just want to know kind of your take on what's going on. There's some big news today regarding the Supernote. And when it comes to updates for both the Nomad, which I'm not going to show here, as many of you know, I gave that to my oldest son, Trey, who's an engineer, because he was going to put it to use every day. And for me, this is more about how they're continuing to iterate and update their existing devices. So you have the A5X and the A6X, which have also gotten this update today. And I think it's foreshadowing some of what they may be going on to do with the A5X2. I put out a poll earlier today asking if you all thought this meant that the A5X2 is on the horizon, and have had a few comments about that. But first of all, if you all could please let me know in the chat whether or not you're able to hear me, whether the stream is coming through okay. Again, I just kind of started this in the moment to make sure that it was going to work. But I want to make sure that everything is coming through loud and clear. But if you can do that, it would really help me out. I'm going to try and put in a little bit of an audio delay just to see if that helps. So give me just a minute. It may not let me do that since I'm already up and running. It may not let me do that real time. So let me see if I can. Matter of fact, I don't want to mess with too much right now, but let me see if I can get this Yeti. There we go. All right, Jack. Thank you for popping up and telling me the sound is good. How about the sync? Am I okay as far as are you able to see me about real time? It seems like I am from what I'm seeing over here on my other camera. Just wanted to make sure. But so what we're going to do, we're going to talk about what the update was today. We're going to go through kind of what's been happening, and then I'm going to try to show. I bought a very inexpensive Bluetooth keyboard for my Supernote A5X because I had always kind of strayed away from that because you can do this through the wireless, through the Supernote app on your computer, but you can also um, do it through Bluetooth. And I've kind of strayed away from that or stayed away from that a little bit because I don't tend to type on the Supernote very much. But at the same time, I think that that could be in the future a decent experience. And so let's go ahead real quick. I'm going to go ahead and switch over to this other scene. And we'll see here. So you should be able to see my screen now. And let me zoom in a little bit here so that the text is a little bit easier to read. Let's go. What? Yep, that's good. So hopefully you all can see that all right. Again, let me know if you have any trouble. Just pop that in the chat. If you have questions as we go, pop them in the chat. And then, of course, this will be, around later. If you have comments, please do that as well. But let's go ahead and kind of go through this. Um, uh, so this is something new since this came out today. So if you've already updated, this is done. But what they did do, and you'll notice here at the very top, and this was something that just now, I guess, came out, they suspended the update for now because of the non-contact writing option. And I think that's because they're going to reinstitute that. So they're going to have that non-contact writing option, which is where you get the ghost writing. They're going to have that reinstated with a further update. I've already downloaded this update. I did it this morning, and my device has been working fine. I saw no issues with, even though I had done the no contact or the non contact writing, I didn't see an issue with that. Um, David, welcome. Thank you for hopping on. Thanks for letting me know everything sounds great. Appreciate that. Uh, and again, welcome to any of you joining. We're going through the latest update for the A5X. Again, as I just mentioned to everyone, I did not know that they had stopped the rollout of this. Excuse me, I had to take a drink real quick. I didn't know they had stopped the rollout of this, but be prepared. It looks like they're going to have a fix. uh, what they had was this idea of they removed the non-contact writing, and that caused an issue for some users. I did see that pop up as a chat, but I thought they were just going to issue a patch, not that they were going to stop the rollout. But I really understand some people are having a lot of trouble with that ghostwriting. So again, it shows you how quickly they listen and adapt to different things. But we're going to go through this update anyway because I do believe that'll probably roll out within the next day or so. And for those of you who've already gotten the update, I think it's important that we talk through kind of what this really means. So something they adjusted, which I think is really interesting, is this system after you press the power button. Before, you only really had um, the restart or the power off, and it didn't really work quite the way I think they intended. And I think that's so now they're saying that if you hold it less than 5 seconds, you get the restart or power off. So they're not making you hold it as long, and they're giving you both options right there with that. Jack, yeah, you're saying that you just checked and it's not available on your A6X. Again, I think that's primarily because they had to address that non-contact writing issue, but I think you'll see that pop back up hopefully really soon. Um, and that's where you see this piece here, the settings. They removed that option or that option. And unfortunately, instead of leaving how you had set it when you did that for your device, they restored everything to default. And that's probably what caused that issue. And so if I were you, I would just be patient. And you're probably lucky if you were using that feature that they suspended the update, which is why they probably did that, so that they didn't have a bunch of users left out in the dark and having issues. On Mail, they updated the login process. I can't really show that because of the idea that it's I haven't had to reset my login in quite a while, so mine's pretty stable. I did notice that it was a little bit quicker to update and do some other things in the Mail app. So I think maybe that might have fixed two things at once. Uh, Aligned the marker stroke with the A5 and A6, or A5X and A6X. Again, I didn't have that issue because I don't have both of those devices. The one thing or the couple of things here, and we'll go through kind of all of these and then I'll focus in on the ones that I really want to show you. One of which is this idea of the the note. So I'll show this here in a little bit, but I've already and I'm moving on the fly here, so I'll have to adjust a camera angle to be able to do this one in a minute because I wanted to show the typing changes first. But this first one here is super important to me. Those of you who have followed me for a while know that I kind of surfaced at first this idea that you could use multiple tags for the same piece of text or multiple selection types. So you could turn a header then into a tag, then into a task, you could do all or an event you could do all of those things from one specific um, by selecting the same piece of text multiple times. What they've done now is you can now do that by going ahead and creating your header first And then you take your stylus and you hold it down and it pops up with just the menu. And then you can create all of those other tags, or you can turn it into a task, or you can turn it into an event. You can do all of that without having to recircle it and go through that whole process again. You basically just have that menu pop up. To me, that's a really smart way for Supernote to address what was kind of an issue. They didn't surface that. They didn't tell people to use those multiple methods, but since it was available, it kind of makes sense to make that functionality even better. So to me, that's really important. This part I have not tried out yet, but it supports clearing keyword use history on the add keyword screen. So I think that's kind of cool. Probably because it was getting kind of cluttered, would be my guess. And so they wanted to make it a little bit more seamless for users. Todd, welcome to the stream. Yeah, I think if you're talking about that multiple tagging feature, I think that's very nice. I think it's super cool the way they did that. Um, so that note, the keyword piece, I'm going to test that out some more, but it's one of those things. We just got the update today and I haven't had a chance to dig in too much to it. But these next two are kind of really important, one of which I can show and I will show. And then the other one that I know a lot of people have been looking for, and I think it's a good accessibility piece. So the documents. So now you can access commonly used shortcut keys for the following actions: copy, cut, paste, undo, resize, italicize, underline, and save. That is really awesome. And remember, and of course, you can also use the arrow keys, delete key, and backspace key on a Bluetooth keyboard. I can confirm you can also do that if you use the wireless keyboard pass through the Supernote desktop app, at least on a Windows machine. It's a little bit more sluggish that way, so I'm probably not going to show that one. I might here in a minute, but I did want to show it, and it's why I bought this inexpensive Bluetooth keyboard from Walmart today. I was picking up groceries anyway, so I added this in, and I said, let's go ahead and show this tonight if we can. But just having some of these, and it doesn't have them all, so it doesn't have all of the keyboard shortcuts. I tried to do, for example, select all. That doesn't work, but it does allow you to select blocks of text, so you can use the shift and select. And to be honest, I had to look up Windows keyboard shortcuts because I use my mouse, and this device it isn't well suited to that. The mouse did connect, but it was so sluggish that I couldn't use it. But for the keyboard, it worked fairly well. So we'll show you that here in a few minutes. But just being able to change format, and remember, anything you do on the Supernote is in a native Word document format. So it's not like using the Word app on another Android tablet. It's not like using the notes in Remarkable and then, kind of taking that text out and having to paste it in somewhere. You can actually do this in the Word document. So it's pretty cool. Another thing here, uh, compatible with more Bluetooth page turners, supports left right page turning for PDF, EPUB, CBiz, and other documents. And I think that is a compatibility issue for those who need those page turn functionalities that maybe not everybody needs, but that some people really value. And then they had some fixes. Fixing the issue where the lassoing handwritten content would occasionally trigger a paste action. I didn't have that issue, but again, it shows that Ratta is listening. Fix the issue of auto rotation of the screen triggered by accident. Again, I'm using the A5X. This is the part where I think one of two things. Either they left this in because this also impacts the A6X2 and they didn't want to write two totally new update texts, but they tend to not do that. Usually it's device specific, and neither the A5X or the A6X has auto rotation. They do have the manual rotation, but not auto. So I think it's really important when you're looking at this to think about maybe they're telegraphing to the A5X2, which does have that auto rotation. So this made me, that's why I put that poll out there to see, is this telegraphing that the A5X2 may be coming out sooner rather than later? Maybe I'm reading too much into it, but I just figured I would throw that out. But I think it's important. Um, Fixed issue where handwriting performed immediately after switching from a document to a note and might sometimes be lost. Again, always smart to do that. This was a big one where you had exporting notes to docx failed. I think that that was a big one for me because you would then have to go in, export something else, and then that would reset it, and you could export that note later to a docx format. So you could export anything, another note to a PDF, that same note to a PDF, and then it would fix that issue. Fix the note where the wrong path was displayed in the jump to. That happened to me once, so I'm glad they fixed that. Text selection was unavailable using a Bluetooth keyboard. Again, they fixed that piece. And then the keyboard fixed the issue where the handwriting keyboard would occasionally fail to recognize handwriting input. And that to me happened a few times, and all I had to do was restart and write another character, and sometimes that would fix the issue. So, anyway, those are the major things that were fixed or changed. But the big one, at least the big one to me, and I do want to show that, is going to be this writing input. And the setup is kind of wonky, so just bear with me on this. But let's go ahead back and I want to show the demo. So let's pop over here and see if I can get this camera to focus a little bit better. It was focused, I promise you. Let's see if we can get it to focus for us. Unfortunately, there we go. Is that a little bit better in focus? It looks like it on my end. So again, I'm using an on uh, Bluetooth keyboard just to test this out and kind of show it in real time. So I can type in, I can say this is a test, and it's pretty good. I mean, there's a little slight bit of lag. I think primarily I can see that because I know I type fairly fast, but I don't know that it's going to be really easy to see for everybody. But so this is a test. Then I can hit enter, and then we'll do Control B. And this is a test with bold text. And then I can go ahead and hit Control B again to take that off, and we'll hit Control italics or Control I for italics. This is a test with italics. And again, it's moving pretty quick in this Bluetooth piece. And then we'll go ahead Control I. Now remember, if you're using keyboard shortcuts, and it's been a while since I've used the keyboard shortcuts, so I'm having to relearn that muscle memory because I'm so used to highlighting text and doing it in Word in the native app. So let's do underline. So it's Control U, and then you will put this is a test with underline. And again, there's no lag here. I'm actually lagging a little bit just in trying to think through in my head what I want to type. And then you can say Control U to get off of that. Now, let's say you want to do Control and you want to bold, italics, and underline. You just hit all three. This is a test of, or with, bold. I can type tonight. Italics and underline. And I apologize for it popping. I think it's because or going in and out of focus. I think primarily that's because of how I've got the camera set up to be able to do this. So that's user error, not not the actual camera itself. So I don't want folks to think that. But what do you think about that? And then again, you can take control and then you B U I, and now you're back to regular text. And then if you want to select, you can go ahead and hit shift and use your arrow keys. Oh, the thing here. I think it's shift. Hold on just a second. I'm going to have to look this up because again, it's been a while since I've had, uh, and if anybody has shortcuts they'd like me to try, let me know. Some of them are working, some of them are not. But if there's one that you want me to try out, please do that. So for here, I can, let's see where it was. Just a second. If anybody does remember, let me know. I believe it was, I thought it was control, or I thought it was shift and then the arrow key. For some reason, that is not selecting on here. Is it control arrow? No, because it worked right before I got on the stream. Anybody know which one that is? I'm trying to look it up over here on the other side. Oh, here we go. Select text. It says shift plus arrow keys. So shift. That's very interesting because it was working. Oh, there it is. So it's working on the up down arrow. There it is. But it's only select text is shift plus arrow keys. Word to the left is control shift left. And it looks like we got a little bit of a bug here because it was working just a minute ago in another test document, and some of them are working. So if I hit shift and arrow keys, so if I hit the up arrow key, it is selecting all of this. And there it goes. So now the left arrow key is working fine, but if you notice that bounding box is moving over completely. That's interesting. So now I can hit control copy, but it obviously didn't do all of the text like I wanted it to. But it's doing far more than it did before. So now if I hit control V, try it this way. Wonder if it didn't. This is real time, folks, so I apologize if there's any issue here. So there it is. So let's just look and see. I'm curious. Let me grab my stylus. Grab my heart of metal here. Let's see if I can pull this bounding box. I'm curious if that would work on the screen. And the answer is no. So you have to be either in the keyboard or in something else. And if I hit Control Copy, and then I try Control V. Yeah, that's interesting. That just shows you what happens during a live stream. This was all working just fine before I got on the live stream. So now it should be, if you hit Shift and the back arrow, that should have selected that text, and it is not doing it. So that's kind of interesting. So anyway, what are your thoughts? I don't want to be, I don't want to belabor this. Let me switch from this camera back to the discussion while I set up another camera angle, because I do want to show you the text header piece, which I or the heading piece, which I actually think is the most interesting thing. This has a lot of promise. I think once they get this settled, you could, if you were just on the go, and I think with the A5X2 and the increased internals, you could type on this in a Word document and then go back later and finish typing that in on the computer or doing some different things. You could edit something you've already got on the computer live and in Word. You can also mark it up with traditional editing symbols with your stylus. So it creates a different workflow. Uh, at some point, I'll go through that workflow probably in much greater detail, but I just wanted to throw that out there. So let me get off of this and pop back over to the discussion. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to work on, you're going to hear some noises, so I apologize for that in advance. But jump into the chat. Tell me, what are your thoughts so far when it comes to this? Is it exciting? Do you think there's a need for it? One of the criticisms, and I think in some ways rightly so, of the Remarkable is this idea that uh, they're very closed in their ecosystem, and it's very hard to get something off of it. So when you're doing different things and when you are working in different documents, you constantly have to be aware that you either have to email it to yourself and revise it, you have to do all of these different things. And for books, it's the opposite argument. You have to use the Native Word app. You have to use their ecosystem. And by the way, just to let me do this really quick. Let me see what this camera looks like, and we'll do some positioning. But I just want to show you this keyboard that I picked up very inexpensively at Walmart uh, today, and I may do something on it. But this is, get this over here. Oh, and we're upside down. So let me get this flipped. Just a second. There we go. Oh, and it's flipped that way too. So hold on just a second. All right. So there we go. So this is that little camera or little keyboard I picked up with a mouse. Yellow and black isn't exactly my thing, but it's pretty good, and it connected really seamlessly. You can connect up to 3 devices on it, but kind of cool. Yeah, that's what I was trying, and not Page. Sorry about that. It was arrows that I was trying to use, um, Brian. But thanks for that correction. I misspoke. I was trying to use the arrow keys. It wasn't page up and down. But thanks for stating that. It just wasn't working at the moment, and I don't know. what that is, but hopefully they'll get that sorted out. But thanks for clarifying that. It let me clarify what I was doing. But anyway, so we'll talk about this some other time. But it's got that nice tray too, which allowed me to prop up the Supernote as if I was gonna, and it would work for any tablet. So kind of cool. But let's put the Supernote here, and let me move this out of the way. Sorry, I got a bunch of things going on, and I want to make sure that I get everything centered here. This is one of those times I really wish I had the top down camera like Kit and some of them do, uh, in a different way. But this sees your camera is doing really well. It's working really well for me. And you all get to see something you never see on my channel, the Supernote out of its case. The It's just not something that I do very often. I don't think it's been out of its case in a long time. See if I can get this to focus for us. How about that? Am I in focus, folks? It looks like I am on my end, but I just want to make sure that we are all focused up. I can see it pretty clearly on my side, but again, I want to make sure that you all are seeing what you need to see. All right. So let's go into a note, and this is where I want to kind of talk through this. So let's go into any note. Let's go to the testing environment. Let's go to the A5X, and let's go to um, organic planning. So this is where I did like a bunch of different test notes. And again, hop into the chat if you have any questions or thoughts. Let me know, because I think that, let's see if I can get all the way back here. That's not a good one. So let's try a different one here, because there's no headings in this one. So let's go ahead and let's just create one. Maybe that'll be easier. So let's create a new heading. Okay. And we're going to select it the first time. And then we want to make that, well, you got to actually hit it on there, Ed. And then we're going to say we want that to be a heading. Now, before, what you would have to do is, in order to make this work, you would have to circle it again, and then you would have, see if I can get that to, sorry about the camera focus, folks. This is what happens when you are trying to do things on the fly. There we go. So before, what you would have to do is you would have to circle that again, and then you would have to change it every time. Now, all you have to do is hold down with your stylus, and all of your options pop right back up. Pretty cool, really, when you think about it and what it's supposed to be doing. It gives you all of your options again. You can cut that, you can copy it, you can do everything but a link. I'm waiting for them to give us the link function here. I think that would be kind of a game changer if they would do that, but they just haven't yet. And I think that's where, they could really get creative with this, because you can do that. Now you can do your keyword, you can make it an event, you can make it a to do, all of that right from here without having to recircle it again. You don't even have to circle it to just resize it. So now we want to make that bigger. We go ahead and we make it bigger, all by just press and hold. Now you have to do it with the stylus. I tried to do it with my finger. It does not work, but it does work really well as long as you hold it down with the stylus. And I'm pretty sure, so let's see, keyword. I don't think it works for everything, obviously, but I just want to make sure. So we're going to make this a keyword. And again, it takes it to keyword. We say add, and we go back. Now, if we hold on that, yeah, that's not going to work. So what you have to do is make sure that you are making a title or making it a heading first. But just imagine the power in that. If you wanted to be able to now navigate your notes and see your headings, they're right there. If you made that then a keyword, it would also show under keywords. If you wanted that to be a task, it would then be a task. So let's go ahead. Sorry, you have to hold it with this. And let's just make that a to-do. So new heading, recognizes it, new heading. We'll go ahead and make that due today. Confirm, add. Now it's going to take me back. Now, if I go into my to-do, there it is. And it will take me straight back to that same note. Pretty awesome, really. At least from my perspective, I think that's a pretty cool function. So, what do you all think? I mean, I show there's several of you still in the stream. This wasn't meant to be a big long stream. It's more just a quick conversation, jump on, answer questions, and also show you that this new function is out there. It's obviously something I think they're giving thought to with regard to the uh, A5X2. I think you're going to see this functionality included. I'm not sure if down the road they may be thinking about split screen. I know that's been a common request. I know some people were upset today that this update didn't include handwriting on the daily calendar view. But what are your thoughts? I mean, jump in the chat real quick. I'll probably stay on here another few minutes. But what are your thoughts? What do you wish was there? What do you think they could improve? Obviously, the shortcuts worked for a little bit, but then they turned off. Maybe I needed to turn off Bluetooth and turn it back on again to get that working. But it would be I'd be interested in your input as to what you would like to see that either isn't here or sorry, I've got stuff kind of spread out over here, or that they could improve on with this update. So jump in the chat. What do you think? Because I know that Roderick at Rants About Tech did this stream earlier, and they were talking about, again, he and I have this difference of opinion. I really hope that this is going to the A5X2 is going to come out this year still, especially with the holiday season coming up. I know that Supernote doesn't do Black Friday sales, but uh, Mashup Mike, no worries. You are not stupid at all. Yes, this is live. I hopped on tonight just to do an update really quick on what was going on with this new update from Ratta concerning the uh, A5X and A6X and the Nomad. So they rolled out two new updates. Uh, what they've done is usually and let's pop back over here and let's see if we can go back to the screen share for a minute. So here's kind of what they did. And this is word for word what's also on the A6X2 because I looked and like I said, I think one of the things that gave me pause was this idea that um, issue with auto rotation. And generally, that's not um, That's not available on the older models. So that's not available on either two of the two devices that are currently on the market that have this feature. It's a manual rotation. And then, yeah, Mike, I'm glad you paused it. It didn't impact me. When I updated, I had I have a bunch of different styluses. So I have a Heart of Metal 1 pin, I have two Heart of Metal 2 pins, and I have, if worst case scenario, I could have used my Norris Digital Jumbo, although that's not my favorite writing feel. So for me, that was one that I, it didn't impact me, but I know it impacted a lot of people. So if you'll notice here, they actually suspended, and we talked about this before you joined, Mike. They actually suspended the update until they can reinstate the non-contact writing option. So again, it shows how quick um, Ratta is to respond to their customer base, because that was mentioned because it broke things. It wasn't that they left it like whatever your settings were, it restored the default. And I think that's what really caused a lot of problems for folks out there, because they had been using this and they had they'd set their device up perfectly the way they wanted it, and then you go ahead and you remove that and reset to default, and now you may have pins that are not working. So I'm really glad that they took that piece of advice. Um, it's not available right now, Mike. Good, good thing there. Yeah, David, this is a good question, and um, I don't know. I would hope that's something they're going to add in. One thing that I mentioned during the last live stream I did with Roderick was that right now, if you open a Word document from your Supernote cloud, and as a matter of fact, let me show you. Let me pop over and put this up here for a minute because I want to show you this. So if we go to Documents, oh, sorry, I'm on the wrong screen, folks. So this is that typing test document that we just did, and I opened in another window. So give me a second just to pull it over. So don't show again. Don't need that. So you'll see that this document now synced automatically because I have auto sync set, and you have basically everything we did on the Supernote is now available to be edited in real time on in a Word document. I didn't have to copy and paste it into a Word document. I didn't have to open the Word app. This just came into my Supernote file structure as a Word document. Now I could go ahead and let me see if I can do this. So insert, let's insert a picture. Let's do online pictures, and let's do, anybody in the chat want to give me a suggestion for an image to put in? Just throw something out there and we'll go ahead and paste some kind of public domain image in there, or common uh, Creative Commons image in there. Mike, David, Brian, anybody? I'll pick something, but I kind of wanted to let you all pick it just to see what this looks like. Well, I'm not seeing anything yet, but I'll go ahead and put something in there. Oh, wait, here we go. Was it? Might as well. No, we're not going to go there. uh, so, oh, fallish. I could not read that word. So, okay. Um, the official word on Reddit is they're working on shape perfection. My Ratta putting in low effort, high returns. So something fallish. So Todd, let's see, what can we do that's fallish? So let's just type in fall and see what we get. Trying to think of something that won't be awful on a non-color. Because they can implement shape perfection in half a day. I don't know about that, but let's put, what do y'all think? How about this one right here? How about this nice scene with the road and the trees? So let's try that one, and we'll put that as an insert. Whoa, let's go ahead and hit enter. Oh, how that became justified. So let's go ahead and take that out. Now what we should see here in just a second, so let me save this because it is on the Supernote cloud, not on OneNote or OneDrive. So let me go ahead and save that. And now we can sync it. And then here in just a second, yeah, the shape recognition thing I think is going to be interesting. Jack says now to work out a way to use the headings, tags, etc. to create a Zettelkasten. That's interesting. Um, and let's go ahead and we'll go back here. Let me get back to my notes, and then we'll pop over. But with Zettelkasten, and I'm assuming you're going down the idea of. Let me get out of this. Just a second, folks, because my Supernote's having to update in real time too. So give it just a second to sync. It's starting to do it now. Yeah, so it's starting to sync. So while that updates, and then we'll pop over and we'll look at that on the Supernote. Uh, the Zettelcast and Jack is interesting. I'm thinking you're talking about Obsidian and kind of how all that works. I kind of use a hybrid approach, so I bring all of my notes in from my A5X through the Supernote plugin in Obsidian, and then I use that as kind of my modified Zettelkasten because again, I use it, as a map of contents, but also a folder structure. And then I look at my map to see where the gaps are. So a lot of different things. Um, yeah, take smart notes. And I do a lot of that naturally. So I link different notes, different meetings, different pieces and components. I do that a lot. But and then that's what the chat offers. I think he was just frustrated. Well, and again, I think there is some frustration on the Supernote side. I mean, they've been very transparent in communicating, but also I think that's been much to their detriment, and they've learned a lot from communicating almost too much. So let's go ahead and pop over real quick to the demo again and see what this looks like. And it created a conflict because they were trying to sync at the exact same time. So let's see which one has the image. My guess would be is it's going to be the conflict file. Okay, so there you go. You can see the image came through on the Supernote. So Word document natively image came through on the Supernote, which actually looks pretty darn good for a black and white image. And of course, if I do the refresh, the manual refresh, which for some reason, maybe that doesn't work in a Word document. Oh, there it is. So you see it comes through, looks pretty good, I think. And now watch what happens when I press down on this image. You should, and maybe I have to do it with the pen. Maybe it's because my keyboard is connected. Oh, there it is. So do you see right here? There's a bounding box. Now, unfortunately, it doesn't do anything yet. So if I push on that and try to resize that image, it doesn't work. But what's cool about the fact that it creates a bounding box to me means that I think they're on that way. I think they're on the path to making the bounding box actually be able to let you resize images directly in the Supernote. Now, again, that workflow is not going to be for everybody, but I think if you're editing something on this device, or if you're wanting to do, you've already written it and you've already gone through and you're wanting to, maybe do some of the deletion. So let's get off of a keyboard and go into handwriting mode. And say you want to go ahead and delete that just using your pen. And the same thing here. You want to delete that, or you want to insert and say, you know, new text. And then that is going to, oh, come on. There we go. So there, that you had to hit the actual arrow again. So that allows you to be able to do a lot of different things in new and interesting ways. Again, I don't know why the bounding boxes don't work yet, but it would be really interesting if they did. Let's see if, since we're on in input, nope, it's not working now. So again, that's one of those things I think they're working on. And Mike, I do think it looks good. I think the rendering on this device, considering this device is this particular device I bought 3.5 years ago. The A5X itself is over 4 years old. I think the image quality is phenomenal, really, for what it is and the way it renders. I love this device, which is the reason that I'm keeping it until the A5X2 comes out. And I think that, when you look at, let's see if I can pull this up. I mean, when you look at that detail on that, on a black and white device, I personally think it looks really good. So I see this as being a lot of good, kind of what's to come. That's the way I'm looking at this update. I see this update as being something that they needed to get out. It fixes some things that were issues, uh, rightly so. And at the same time, it allows space for them to experiment a little bit and maybe get some of this out to users before you have the A5X2 coming out to market. I was surprised to see that they didn't do the daily calendar, writing on the daily calendar. But again, I don't know the logistics behind that. So I don't know how difficult that would be. And I don't want to, you know, cast shade or throw any shade on them because I think that they're trying their best to make these things happen. And at the same time, I know that it's a difficult thing uh, to do those types of things. The same with the split screen. I think that is going to be an extremely useful tool when you can take notes on one side of the device while you have a PDF or an ebook open on the other side. Being able to do that kind of a thing makes this even more of a productivity powerhouse than it already is. And maybe you have your to-do list open. I mean, I don't know how they would implement that, but if you can open multiple apps, maybe you have your calendar open with your daily that you can now write on, or you have your to-do list open. And when you click it, it changes that other window. Just some things that I'm thinking about from a productivity standpoint that would be really cool. So, Mike, what do you mean 2025-ish? I think this device is going to come out this year. I really do. Now, I could be wrong about that. Roderick is probably going to watch this back and be like, Ed, you know you're wrong about that. But I really think that they're aiming for this year, and I would love to see this device hit end of November, even first week of December. I think that still gives you time, especially if they're skipping pre-orders. I think that gives you time to get it in the hands of people by Christmas. And to me, that would give you um, a lot of opportunities. So Todd says, I wonder if they'll wait to premiere the writing on day calendar like they premiered Atelier on the A6X2. Same thing with those other features you mentioned. Todd, I think that's an excellent point. And quite frankly, I'm surprised they did an update this close to what I think will be the release of the A5X2. I would have been, but again, let me walk that back a little bit. These are things that were frustration points for users. So I think that them doing this shows how committed they are to maintaining a solid and good platform for their user base. So for me, that shows their commitment. They're not going to keep people waiting while they're doing this new device. But at the same time, I think you may be correct. There may be new implementations because largely this was a fix. They added in the keyboard shortcuts for Word, so that was new. They fixed or they added in, quote, or kind of fixed that selection piece, which I still think is super cool to be able to hold down with the stylus and tag a piece of text in multiple ways. That's genius. I don't know of any other device that does it. Like I said, if they added link functionality to that, where you could have it be a heading, a keyword, a event, a to-do list, and or a link, that would be brilliant because that could give you, and I think it was who was it, Jack, who mentioned Zettelkasten. That would give you actually a really good way, especially if you do notes the way I do them, which is by a note for each meeting. I don't do like the large notes. It's why I have trouble with planners. I don't do this large sprawling thing. Instead, or I shouldn't say sprawling, this large one thing with all these documents in it. Instead, I do a bunch of little notes. So I do a note for every single meeting with a separate heading. That way, at the end of the year, when I consolidate everything, I can go back and find all of them in one large note that I've backed up, or once I do that. Um, I didn't get to finish watching his stream yet, Mike. So I watched part of it. Yeah, I heard the 80% thing. We'll see who's right on that. So you'll just have to hold one of us accountable when the time comes. But anyway, back to the Zettelkasten real quick. So you can imagine if you could turn each of those into a link, each of those notes or each of those headings, you could have multiple headings in one note that then linked out to other notes without having to be like a landing page or something like that. You could have a jumping off point from inside of one note to another note just straight by using those headers or those tools. You can still do that with links now, but this would be a way to be able to visually see that maybe in a different way. But anyway, everyone, it's been an hour. I wanted to keep this short. I didn't want to go too long, but thank you for those who jumped on. If you didn't, and you're watching this back, please let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you all who are watching it live right now want to continue the conversation, jump down into the comments and let me know your thoughts. And until next time, I will talk to you all soon and keep watching. Thank you very much.